What's up, YouTube? How's everybody doing today? Yeah, life's been going nuts for me too. Isn't it funny how if you're a straight single man that believes in God, you're the enemy? Funny how that happened. Yeah, I watched the dude that goes through LA a lot on the e-bikes, and they're pretty cool. I like them. It's just you don't really have much, storage capacity to hold things if you go grocery shopping or something like that. But for just dipping around and goofing off and having fun, yeah, they're pretty cool. That'd be a beach cruiser for me. But some of them, they resemble dirt bikes, so they'd be pretty cool off road. I just don't know how long they would last. They seem like they last pretty good. I mean, he does like almost 2 hour videos with it. So, I mean, as long as you're going to a place where you can charge it, you could run the battery out, let it charge, depending on how long it takes to charge. I'm guessing they take at least, you know, 8 hours, 8 to 12 hours for a full charge, if not longer. I haven't checked that out yet, but I love stuff like that. I was stuff I was hoping me and the kids would get into once they got older. But there's just too much negativity spread around, and people think some things are attacks and other things are this or that when they're not. So they got what they wanted. Yeah, they didn't like the truth being told about them. Yeah, every one of them, except for one, did this because they were bitter. Now, that's also why I don't bring her up too much. I leave her alone. Well, we were young, yeah, but, you know, I took people for their word. You tell me you want something and we're working towards it, and then you pull a freaking left field out of nowhere. Yeah, that would be your fault. No matter how big of a left field turn that is, no matter how small they want to try and act like it was. Some of them, in their own mind, believe it was a small, such a small gesture that it doesn't even deserve mentioning. But on the flip side of that coin, it's another way to manipulate and act like nothing they did was wrong. It's also a good way to skip over the puzzle piece that completes why all that went down. Yeah, I put my whole life on the line for a family and kids, which I should have just not even cared about it. And I didn't want any other kids or anything like that after what happened with Bethany and Kyle. That's why when Jen pulled what she pulled, it pushed me even further away from it. But Tiffany was the one that talked me into that. And it wasn't like she was like, "Oh, want to have kids?" And I was like, "No, oh please." And yeah, no, no, wasn't like that at all. She every day, one way or another, either trying to verbally talk me into it or trying to persuade me into things, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to sit here and give all you perverts the dirty details like that. I don't do that. So that's not happening. All I can tell you is a lot of people have it in their mind that men are the only ones that push for that stuff, and that's not true. I don't even see how you all can even agree that that is a fact when it is not a fact. Well, men are the most perverted. No, they're not. Women are, but they do it in different ways. That way, it's never verbally said too much. And when a woman talks that way, as long as she does it the right way, nobody cares, and they will cover up the fact that she's the one that did that. Sort of like this fight with Ukraine and Russia. It was all started by NATO, but everybody ignores that. NATO has been picking a fight in between them for years, and Russia's been warning that if NATO doesn't settle down, they're going to do something, and they've been doing it. I don't know how many times I heard stories about NATO over there pissing Russia off. And now that this fight has went on for years and years, people are like, "Oh well, it was Ukraine. Oh well, it was Russia." No, it wasn't. It was NATO the whole time. Now, I'm not saying that Russia wasn't wanting it or Ukraine wasn't wanting it, because that's a possibility. But these are the people that were over there messing with stuff and pissing off Russia because they kept fucking around on Russia's border, and Russia kept saying that if NATO doesn't stop, we're going to have a problem. And NATO would act like they would stop for a little while, and then they go back to it. And Russia get pissed off again, and they're like, "Yo," which I don't know the boundary lines and all that over there, so I don't even know if Russia was allowed to bitch about them doing what they were doing. All I know is that they were, and they didn't care. So that might have been fault on Russia's part there, but the missile that came out of Ukraine came back into Ukraine and hit Ukraine stuff, and they tried to blame it on Russia. Uh, that sounds like somebody that's trying to start a fight is gained access somehow to Ukraine's missile and set it off, and then tried to blame Russia for it, which I don't know the person that did that. They're just going by where it came out of and what it destroyed, which they're so fucking investigative, they should be able to tell you, what person actually shot that off. And for some reason, I never heard that. All they said was Ukraine. Who in Ukraine? What person did that? Who hit the button? Who aimed it and fired it? But of course, we only get 80% of the story. We don't get the part that matters. And that's why I think it's just there's other things going on, but this is what they're telling us it is. Just like the thing with Zelensky. Zelensky was put in there by a group of people over there that made sure that he made it into office. Pretty funny. Sounds just like Al Gore and Bush. Sounds like Biden and Trump. I mean, really? That's not the first time that shit's happened. But it happened in a different country where it would most likely be easier to do. And maybe that's why they decided to do that, because we were controlled by Ukraine, because we have a lot of bio labs over there. We have a lot of they say rare earth minerals, which I don't know. Maybe that's a code name for something else. I do understand that they use certain rare earth minerals for military, armored stuff, blah, blah, blah. But they can also do that in a metal shop. Supposedly, they were saying that they were using CERN to turn lead into gold. But for some reason, it would only hold for like a microsecond and then disappear. So they're playing God. They're trying to change elements. Wow. I didn't imagine that. They've been trying to pass lead off as gold for over a couple centuries, actually. The Rothschilds are the ones that started that. That's how we got gold plated. Yeah, they were the ones that tricked people into their gold by giving them IOUs. And then when the people wanted their gold back, they would paint lead with a thick layer of lead and gold mix so it would look like gold and give it back, even though they took most of it. And isn't that how banks work today? Off your money. That's why they want you to keep a certain amount in there so they can use it. Right? Same thing. And pretty funny, anybody that gets anybody paying attention to that ends up swimming with the fishes, let's say. But nobody's made that connection that, hey, there's got to be something about that. Because anytime somebody speaks of it or tries to go against their stuff, man, they end up having a real bad accident. Or they all of a sudden become very mentally unstable that nobody knew about. Yeah. And see, that ain't laughing out of comedy. That's laughing out of stupidity. That is just stupid. That people would actually believe that, oh, well, they committed. No, they didn't. Somebody that's never suicidal, loving life, and gets in the middle of all that, and just because they said something, all of a sudden they're suicidal. Yeah, right. This is how they form rabbit holes. They put out information as fact that is not true. And this is what people start chasing. And when they chase it and find out there's dead ends to it, that's how the rabbit hole is formed. That means whoever is putting out that information knows the truth. Or they were told to do that by somebody who does know the truth. Trust me, these people ain't going to let the truth out. And you can tell when the truth starts getting out, people start disappearing. Just like every time we start pushing for Epstein and the people involved to be in trouble, we start having natural disasters and Israel starts acting up. So if you guys don't understand that beacon, y'all are blind. That means whoever controls Israel is behind all this kitty stuff and the Epstein stuff. And where does a lot of people believe that Epstein is right now? Israel. Well, at least when he first got out of the fake jail he was in. And also, how come nobody's paying attention to the fact that Maxwell was a groomer and did the same things that Epstein did? That was a female. That means there's other females that are doing it. Just like the Jaguar chick. Now, she claims to know all this stuff, right? She claims to know all these circles and all these people and know all these details. Well, the only way to get that is to be on the inside. And how come you stayed so long without saying something before? Oh, that's right. Miss Jaguar didn't start saying anything until she was screwed over for money. Then she started saying something. That was the same way with Monique. None of them were going to say anything. Now, of course, they're going to use, well, they threatened me for my life. Yeah, no shit. Why did you stay around then? Because you wanted that money. You wanted a piece of that lifestyle. That's why. And of course, they're going to lie and manipulate, but it is obvious that that is why they hung around, and that is why they're opening their mouth. A lot of them believe that if they don't make it big, they'd rather die. So letting it out and putting their life on the line is basically telling you that I didn't make it and they screwed me over, so fuck them. I don't care if I live or die. So they let it out.